Hello everyone, welcome to What If Cid Kagenou Was Getting Forced to Marry Part 1. Before we start, please go support Lance783 for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Cid is a male. Cid Kagenou is a boy who likes to be the eminence in the shadows, using his powers to stop the Diabolos cult. However, something has happened. His parents have decided to hunt him down behind his back. What will everyone's reaction be? Chapters 1, 2, and 3. I was enjoying my cheap lunch. I knew it was crap, but it was the only thing there was. After all, I was saving my money as always to buy other things. While I was eating, my Nay-san would hug me from behind like a good background character. Ah! You scared me, Nay-san. Cid, you haven't forgotten your promise, right? Smiling. No, Nay-san, ever. Wait, what promise? Tomorrow you'll obviously invite me to the cinema to see the new movie. I had forgotten that Ganma made a new cinema. It seems that the girls have been investigating a lot these past few months since they stole that camera. I thought there wouldn't be that much change just because of a technology from my world. If they discovered more, it would probably be different here. Why yes, Nay-sama. I'll wait for you tomorrow, don't forget it, okay? Nay-sama smiled quite happily, but deep inside that smile was that if I forgot that promise, it would definitely break me to pieces. I continued my poor lunch as always. I would finish, and after classes I would leave school heading home. Stop, show us everything you've got. A thug would pull out a gun and point it directly at me. Wanting to assault the eminence in the shadows is a mistake. Will I teach them a lesson? But I'm in the background? Well, what does it matter? I'll have to finish them off, or they'll know my identity. Hey! Didn't you hear what we said? In that I would take out several shadow tentacles attacking them. What? The poor imbecile would fall to the ground after being pierced in the back by my shadow. Damn! The other would launch himself at me, trying to stab me with his knife. However, I would cover myself with a little of my slime magic. Good speed. Are you an ex-soldier? What? Yes, I am also very happy with this. It is very useful, right? I'd run it through the slime itself. Now we have a new case. The two dead men in the alley. What a good strategy. I would have arrived home, and once I entered I would find the surprise. It was my parents who were waiting for me. It was strange, they didn't usually talk to me much. After all, I wasn't successful in anything, and since my sister surpassed me in skills, they dedicated all their attention to her completely. Hello, Dad, Mom? Son, would you do us a favor and sit down? Yeah. I would sit on the couch waiting. Your career is going very badly. You get bad grades at school, and you are not good at fencing, the symbol of the family. And you do not show interest in any profession or have joined a club, so we have made the decision maybe it would be better if someone could take care of you and give you love. Hey! After all, we can't force you to do something you don't like or aren't good at. We tried to get you into private classes, but you constantly refused. That's why the best way for you to have a happy life and for our heirs to have a great quality of life is for you to have someone who can take care of you. I'm sorry if this bothers you, Cid. I know it's all sudden. What do you think? I could use this as a plot, but gold doesn't sound bad. However, I would lose my freedom as an eminence, and doing whatever I want from my point of view is not very convenient. I'm sorry, Dad. Mom, I don't want to get married yet. It's not in my plans. Son, at this rate you're going to end up with a pretty bad life. With a less than decent job, we want to prevent you from falling so low. We are so sorry for not paying attention to you and only giving it to your sister. Maybe if we had given it to you and supported you, this would be different. Let us support you at least before it's too late. I don't want to. I'm sorry, but everything is already planned and organized. Wait, what? The couples are on a list. You will choose who to go out with. Take your time. My dad would give me the grade. They did this behind my back and planned it? Now how do I get out of this? I could act normal, but if I do, I'll be married. Maybe Shadow's identity and attacking the wedding will cancel the plans. I would start thinking, and I would better take the note and read it. I have to choose someone who doesn't have extreme security. When reading, I would see the names of the proposals: Alexia, Rose, Diana, Princess of Oriana, Naomi, Kafka. Beta is serious? He knows this? And why is Alexia on the list? I thought the boyfriend and girlfriend thing was all a hoax like a mob. I could tell Nay-san, but I don't know how she would react if she found out. She would probably make a big scene with my parents, but she would still find out and kill me if she saw the wedding. At least she would know that I didn't plan this. Can I have privacy? Sure, let's go, love. Yeah. My parents would retire somewhere else. Did you hear that Cid Kagenou is looking for a partner? Oh, so finally I'll prove that I'm the most worthwhile. A girl would smile from a tavern far away. I would be thoughtful about who to choose or whether to make the Eminence plan B. From the shadows. I'm sure Shadow-sama will choose me, I'm the most suitable. Beta would blush a little and smile. I won't let Epsilon and the other shadows beat me this time. The next day at the Midgar school. Old man, did you hear him? Cid Kagenou is going hunting. Really? That normal guy is going hunting? Yes, and not only that, I heard several rumors that the options I had were each famous girls. What luck he has. Of course, even though he is a weirdo, he comes from the same family as Claire-san. It's hard to believe. Rose would be smiling while holding the hamburger wrapper that Cid had given her with her. Cid-kun, I will show you that as a committed person I am the best option. Alexia would have a cup of tea and be a little thoughtful because, if they found out that she applied to be Cid's girlfriend, Iris or her family would probably bother her. I don't care if they bother me. Even if it's a short relationship, I want to know more about him. But why? The Zeta faction would return with her and give a brief report. How are things? Well, Miss Claire is safe and sound. I see. Good job. But we found something else. What's going on? Well, there were several rumors at school about Shadow-sama's marriage and that he has several people on the list, and among them is Miss Beta like Natsum Kafka. Zeta would remain silent and only emanate a reddish aura that would begin to terrify the entire faction. So that idiot thinks she'll get away with it and hides this from us? Zeta gnashed his teeth. Calm down, Miss Zeta. If you increase your magic so much Zeta would calm down a little. Do you know why the teacher is looking for a partner, and why he didn't tell us? Well, I heard it was because his family forced him to choose someone and nothing else. Zeta would start to smile. I'm going to apply too. Yay? I was walking down the halls, people were looking at me strangely, it really seemed like they were focused on me. This hadn't happened since my fake partner with Alexia. Damn Cid! As expected, the secondary characters. Hirogari and the other bald guy whose name I forgot. We heard you're going hunting, are you serious? And why the hell do you have so many damn hot girls? The last thing I wanted was for this to go viral. Damn, my parents played me dirty. Well, the only thing left is to accept things. Recommend us to a friend when you leave the others. In that I would lightly punch Hiro in the stomach, which would comically fall to the ground. I don't plan to marry any of them, it's all fake. Don't be such a gallant man. Your family was the one who made the announcement. Wait. That means that. Cid. My Nay-san was seen completely furious running towards me. I'm dead. Chapters 4, 5, 6, 7. Cid. Seeing my sister, I would expect the worst, and like a good background character I was preparing to fake my pain, which evidently happened. My sister would have grabbed me by the neck and thrown me to the ground in fury, with Jaga and Hiro looking at her, quite scared it seemed. Hey, it's not that bad, hee, shut up. Okay. And Nay-san, can I? Nay-san would squeeze my neck harder, saliva starting to come out of my mouth and making it difficult to speak. How are you going to get married? My sister would look at the two mobs, Hiro and Jaga, and when they were observed by her, they would feel quite a bit of fear running through their bodies like an electric shock, or so I think. Do you know something? And nothing, we swear. My parents would have come to my room because of the scandal, and seeing the scene, my father would have been even more scared since Nay-san would definitely have taken on my mother's character. See, Claire, my daughter, let us explain, okay? Sure. Nay-san would hang me more. He's going to kill him. The two sweaty mobs had thought when they saw my sister's action. At that point, my mom would have approached my sister and would have taken her away from me. Since it was her, she would just move away, still looking at me annoyed. Tisk, I can't believe what I hear, Cid. Your brother wasn't the one who decided to get married, it was us who made the decision. My dad would speak, leaving my sister quite surprised, and the two mobs, seeing what was happening, were simply moving away little by little. He was really putting on a show here, and they were afraid that my sister would hurt them. And me, Cid, we'll go do homework, see you. Both would leave. What? Your brother wasn't the one who decided to get married, it was us. But why? Claire, we understand that you always take care of your brother, you never let him go, you just know that anything can happen to him, and you have always taken care of each other since you were children. We really appreciate that so much, but you have a great career as a swordsman, and sooner or later, you will not be able to continue taking care of your brother, as you always do. That's why we've decided to leave him in the care of another reliable person who can take care of him when you can't anymore. What? And why didn't you tell me before? We were planning to do it, but we didn't know how you would take it. Dad, Mom, did you really think I would leave my own brother unattended? Of course not, you just have to be realistic. Cid may not be a great swordsman like you. And the monsters in Midgar are getting bigger and bigger. That organization, Shadow Garden, the cult, Oriana's whole thing is too much. CHT. Now that you have that, I'm not in the mood. Nothing. We ask you to understand. In that case, I want to apply too. Hey? Apply? What plot twist is this? Was my sister always in love with me? This is the worst thing for my mob character. What did you say? What's up, Aurora, do you have a problem? Tisk. Aurora would tilt her gaze, quite annoyed. But daughter, what are you talking about? I want to show that I love my brother very much, and I can give him the good life you ask him to have. That's not the problem, they are brothers, it's not possible for you to marry him. Why not? Because you require someone of a higher status, and we can't add you, it would damage your reputation. That's ridiculous. You and me. I'd better not say anything and let the discussion continue. I wasn't going to get involved in that topic, even though it was a big surprise to know that my sister was in love with me. I couldn't let her be an option for me. I would practically lose my freedom as an eminence in the shadows, and in fact my sister's character was already starting to bother me. But as a mob character, I had to put up with it. I wouldn't put up with it even as a joke all my life. Somewhere else. Did you hear that? The teacher is finally getting married. How envious. I wanted to apply, but I don't think he'd notice me. Say what you want, I will run for office. I don't think it's possible if the shadows are going to be postulated several times. We must not give up. Several numbers would be whispering until they would be heard by a black-haired girl with feline ears and beautiful violet eyes. You. Delta would approach the numbers that were whispering, scaring them. What? Shadow-sama is getting married? Kia. Where? Yeah, your parents announced it a few hours ago. Delta would move quickly and head where Alpha was. Alpha-sama. Delta would enter abruptly, breaking the door and causing her to throw a substance. Delta. Kia. Sorry, Alpha-sama. How many times do I have to tell you? Okay, I have another substance anyway. Ada would take out another one with a bored expression as always. Ugh. What do you want, Delta? I'm busy. Sorry to interrupt you, but Shadow-sama is getting married. Shadow-sama? What are you going to do? It's ridiculous. I want to be with Dad, Mom. You don't mind, do you, Cid? You and me. You heard them, you can't. Aurora would laugh a little, bothering Claire. You shut up. Daughter, we understand your concern for Cid, but you can't, you still have a long way to go. Even so, if you have proof that his future girlfriend is mean to him, or something happens, you will always be there for him. We don't mean that you will abandon him, or anything like that, just understand. Nay-san would go to her room and lock herself in. See Claire. Leave her alone, anyway the way she found out wasn't very good, we have to give her time to process it, she'll understand. Honestly, I didn't plan on my parents marrying me off to someone behind my back. Maybe I was planning to do it on my own as a plot in the future, but it wasn't the right time. However, this tedious situation is such that I could choose to have someone pretend to be my girlfriend without her being in love with me, and so I could do whatever I want. Of course, that would imply who is suitable for this. I would be a little thoughtful. Somewhere else, more specifically in Shadow Garden. So he's going hunting, it's my chance, Cid my love. Rose would look at her fists with a determined look. -666, what are you doing? Sorry, I was a little thoughtful, I'll get back to training soon. Are you sure about what you're saying, Delta? Well, it's that I heard several rumors and also that Shadow-sama's family had announced it. Alpha would quickly go outside with both of their confused looks to verify. Hey Alpha-sama, wait. Delta would follow her. What a pain. Ada would lie down and go back to sleep. The Kagenou family has announced a boss announcement. Kagenou family? Speak. Apparently Cid Kagenou is going hunting, there will be a wedding. Interesting, keep me posted. So he's going hunting, looks like I wasn't good enough for him after all. Sherry would look at the newspaper with some tears falling. I'm sorry, Cid, for not spending time with you like I promised, I just hope you're happy with that person. Sherry would stab her sword into Shadow's image. Shadow. Alpha would have arrived where Cid's house was without much trouble. Delta would be behind him and would also arrive. Who are we going to hunt, boss? Delta would be motivated. CHT. So his family did force him to hunt. I had some suspicions that it could happen, but I didn't imagine that now, in the same way Alpha would blush a little and Delta would look at her. Alpha-sama, are you okay? You're red. Yes, sorry. Well, who will we hunt? Delta is excited to know who we will hunt this time. We won't hunt anyone, let's go back, I just wanted to confirm it. Alpha would return. Ow. Delta would lower her ears and go after her, following her. Aurora would be somewhat dissatisfied in Claire's mind, who would not pay much attention to her because she was angry since her parents made the decision quickly, and without telling her, and they also disagreed that they would end up together. Everything bothered her. CHT. And what's happening to you now, Aurora? Nothing is nothing. Sure? Don't start insisting or I'll ignore you. Claire would look somewhat curiously at Aurora, who would simply tilt her head. Could it be that you are Aurora? Aurora would try to ignore Claire, however she couldn't when she was getting closer to the word. TSK, none of that. Coming from a witch, it's incredible, really, now I have something to tell people. Claire, if you do that, I'm going to. You're supporting me and you think I should stay with Cid, right? That? It's true, right? Thanks for that, Aurora. I know we got along a bit badly and got off on the wrong foot, but I'm glad to have someone to talk to. One way or the other. Aurora would give a slight sigh of relief. At Midgar school the next day. Is that the boy who is going hunting? Wow, look, he got married shortly after breaking up with Princess Alexia. Maybe he was unfaithful to her all this time. You may be right, he is an idiot. How unpleasant. Rumors were around me. It was perfect, at least the plot. It was working well, although I did not like the idea of the wedding. I still had a plan to ruin it, and that definitely would not fail. At my side were the two mobs Hyero and Jaga, which as expected were nosy and questioning, but I simply continued with the mission as mob number 1 background character, walking in school ignoring such a tremendous scene. Cuckoo. Old man, really, you are a damn lucky guy, You drive several important people in the kingdom crazy of beauties. Not only that, they're rich, damn Cid. Hey, how about you introduce me to a third? A blow would be received from me to the mob hero. I was a little neutered from his jokes, so I didn't avoid giving him one. Now what did I do? In Shadow Garden, Epsilon was choosing a dress to wear while Beta would enter her room. Huh? Why are you coming in like that, Beta? Epsilon would quickly turn around and cover himself because he literally had no clothes and he would have no choice but to wear his Shadow Garden suit. I just came to tell you that Shadow-sama already has me on the list of brides for his wedding. Beta would smile confidently. Finally, after so much humiliation and mockery that Epsilon had done to her, she finally believed that this moment would be the one she had been waiting for to choose her revenge. Epsilon would start to smile and approach Beta, who would be impressed to see no reaction from her. There's a cute Beta, do you really think I didn't know that? What? I was the first Shadow to find out about that. I was the one who suggested to Shadow-sama's parents to have the wedding, and they have me in high status because of my good body and money. Epsilon would get close enough to Beta and hit his bubbies with hers, colliding. Oh, they're not standing up so firmly anymore, are they wrinkled? And no eye. In that for the Beta impression, this would be a bubby blushing too much. Kekia! What are you doing? As expected, they are very small, look at the difference with mine, they are the most perfect. Epsilon would make Beta play a. This morning, Shadow-sama came to see me and said, "You look beautiful, Epsilon, as always." Beta would blush seeing what Epsilon was doing. But that's impossible, you're lying. I tell things as they are, dear. Laughing. You'll have to try harder to make Shadow-sama have you in his sights or you'll fall. And no, I. At that a number would enter the room to report to Epsilon, however upon entering she would see what both of them were doing, releasing a drop of sweat. Epsilon-sama, I have a new report about. Well Beta, if you excuse me I'll continue with my thing. Epsilon would walk away from Beta smiling confidently, making Beta quite upset inside. I won't stand idly by, you'll see. Chapter 8. I was eating my lunch at recess, and I felt a touch when I turned my head a little. I managed to visualize a beautiful girl with a big ponytail. Her hair was red like ruby and her eyes were yellow. It was recognizable. It was a great friend of Nei-sen, Nina-senpai. Can I sit next to the lucky guy? Nina-senpai would sit next to me. To tell the truth, she is quite small. Her total height only reaches the height of my chest, although she has grown a little since the last time I saw her. Have you already decided who you're going to marry, JS? No. Do you have something in mind? No. JS, I'm sorry if I was bothering you. What do you say if I give you something from me? Ask for whatever you want, I'll treat. Oh really? If you ask for whatever you want, little brother. In that case, the most expensive lunch on the menu. Well, in that case it will be the deluxe lunch for super rich names of 100,000 zennies. Nina-senpai would order my super expensive lunch, and I would just be waiting, a little thoughtful about the above, but the plot of the King of Oriana and the King of Midgar was approaching? Maybe she was the best option. Seeing Nina-senpai with my lunch, I would just sigh and take several snacks, eating them as if there was no tomorrow. Shit, this really tasted good. After trying that crappy breakfast so many times, I finally have a reward. Nina-senpai would just stare at me and smile a little. Who would have thought that you would already get married, and not only that, very quickly? I would just limit myself to eating my deluxe lunch. 100,000 was an opportunity that was rarely seen. By the way, have you seen the list? Are there all the lucky ones? What are you talking about? As far as I understand, you still have it open for more candidates to be willing, and yet I see you so relaxed. Knowing that look, you've already made a decision, right? She stared at me as I continued eating. Fu, at least choose someone who can pay for these lunches. Seeing you save up and choose that 980 zenny lunch is sad. It's not sad, it's my savings. Yes, whatever you say. She would smile and I would just limit myself to eating. A beautiful silver-haired girl with red eyes was drinking some black coffee in her seat. How delicious coffee is the best after a hard day at school. Alexia would drink a little and be a little thoughtful about her decision to run. Why do I care so much? I know there are several others who also applied, but he wouldn't have known them before, or would he? Alexia! A loud door sound would be heard. It was Iris who would enter. What's wrong, Nasan? Alexia was sweating a drop when she saw her sister enter in such a way because she had never seen her enter like that. Is it true that you applied to be Cid Kagenou's boyfriend? Yes, it is. But Alexia, are you crazy? You can't get married yet. Nasan, I already made a decision from the day I decided to wear women's clothing. That has nothing to do with it. Remove yourself from the list. Alexia would get up and approach Iris, who would take a few steps back. Alexia was getting too close until she would be cornered against the wall. Hey, Alexia? Sister, I've made a decision that I think is best for me. Are you going to take away that right from me? And no, but he is the boy I want to be with. It is my decision, Nasan. But I want you to be okay and have a reliable partner. He was a suspect the last time you disappeared, and he's also a low-level swordsman. What happened last time wasn't his fault. You blamed him unfairly, and I was also kidnapped by a master swordsman while I was returning home. And I don't care if he's a low-level swordsman. I like his swordsmanship, and I feel comfortable using his style. Alexia. Sister, are you going to stop me from falling in love? If that's the case, I can consider it. Alexia would smile and walk away and leave the room happy. Oh, I can't believe this is happening. Iris would fall to the ground somewhat comically. In Shadow Garden, Rose was training with her teammates until Lambda gave a signal. That's enough for today. Rose and 665 and 664 would stop in the middle of combat. You can rest. Tomorrow we will continue with training. Good workout, girls. Thank you. Thank you. You're amazing, 666. I'm so glad they let you come back to Shadow Garden. I knew you weren't bad. Rose would smile a little and remember what she would have done, lowering her gaze a little. Just a few months after you joined us, you're almost at our level, and it took us a long time to get to where we are. I'm sure if you continue training hard, you'll be a candidate for Shadow in the future. Yes, I agree. Gee, girls. Rose would hug them and both would happily hug back. By the way, I heard you in the locker room say something about, just wait for me, my love. Who were you referring to? Rose would blush upon hearing those words spoken by her partner. It wasn't a misunderstanding. JS, that doesn't work with us, and you know it. You've had your eye on Shadow-sama for a while now. Shadow-sama? Not at all. We don't blame you. Hell, we all want to be with him, but I don't think the shadows will allow it. He'll choose one over us. Besides, I doubt he'll notice someone like me. I'm sure he still needs time. Working hard is a bit heavy, and he probably hasn't thought much about having someone close to him, but I'm sure if you don't give up, you'll manage to win him over. Oh, thanks, 666. Although it doesn't bother you that he chooses me over you, ha ha ha? I already told you I'm not in love with him. And who is the lucky one? I can't tell you that either. Haha, it's okay, you don't have to get ahead of yourself. Well, let's do the new mission that Victoria-sama entrusted to us. Yeah. Shadow-sama deserves someone who understands his feelings. If it can't be me, at least I'll make his wedding successful as he wishes. A pink-haired girl would be behind a wall. Chapter 9. The afternoon would come and I would leave school as usual. I would head out on foot after all. The assailants no longer dared to return after the mysterious murder case. In the Kuka streets. I have to think tomorrow about what the plan will be. So that this wedding has the right plot, I could simply pretend to go to the bathroom, and then become Shadow and crash the wedding. That would be perfect to ruin my wedding. That sounds great. In Shadow Garden. Ganma, give me some chocolate. What's up, Delta? I'm quite upset. They call the boss unfaithful and several other things. But Delta, I'm sure it's all part of Shadow-sama's plan. But that sounds terrible. He's not an unfaithful person. You make too much noise so late, it's annoying. At that moment someone would have entered the room where the two were. It was Zeta, who had 3 black bags. Hello, Zeta. What are you doing here, Zeta? Ganma, here is what you asked for. Listen to me. Oh, you found it. Fast work as always. What are you going to do with these things? I will launch a new product. White chocolate. Chocolate. White? Yes, Shadow-sama taught me about that. If you mix milk and chocolate, you create a chocolate with a unique flavor. Our Delta wants to try one. You can't. Because? You've already consumed a lot of chocolate. It's not recommended in excess or it can be toxic to your species. You should already know this, Hitch. MRRR. Guh. It seems like you two get along well. Ganma would smile. Not at all. Not at all. Both would say it at the same time. Do you have any other Ganma candy? Delta needs one to calm his rage. Fury? And when you don't have it? Shut up, weak-nosed cat. And your little dog has a weak head. MGGGGGGGG. GRRRRRR. Okay, you two stop playing with each other. Ganma would approach them with several cookies and chocolate. We're not playing. We're not playing. MGGG. Ganma would just smile. I continued on my way as if nothing had happened. Everything was calm in the streets. It seemed there were no more assailants to show my power. Cuckoo, apparently I killed them all, or maybe they understood the message. I would have arrived home, and when I got there I simply went to my room and laid down on my bed. Another boring day had passed, but now I had to think about the strategy for tomorrow. What would I do at the wedding? But first, Cid would take some things out of his backpack. They had a shiny golden appearance. They were valuable objects. A good eminence in the shadows must have valuables. He would laugh a little and delicately clean each one. The night came and he didn't remember the plan. Cid, darling. There were some knocks in my room and the voice was familiar. It was my mother's, but wait, if she was talking to me, it means that. Shit, I forgot the plan. Go. I would get out of bed yawning. I got carried away by my things and didn't think of a plan B. Well, I'm sure plan A will work now to choose a candidate. Anyway, I'll mess everything up. I would leave my room a little sleepy still. Looking more closely, I saw who seemed to be Naysan, who was very formal. If you asked me, I had never seen her like that since I invited her to eat. Naysan? When she saw me, she would come up to me and hug me. Cid. My parents still mistakenly believe that you should have someone special to look after you, but I disagree with that idea. Just remember, Alexia, that time you were held captive just for something you didn't do. He just looked at her and didn't say anything because if he said something he could ruin it. You agree with my idea, right? Naysan, even if I didn't want to, my parents have already made a decision. I can't do anything. And the wedding will be in a few hours. I have to choose someone right now. There's no need. Naysan would take my hand. I will be your partner. Hey? Hey? But Naysan, just let me think. At that I would feel a rather frightening look from her, as my good role as a mob would pretend to be scared like a puppy. But my parents, Naysan. If they have a problem, I don't care. Well, I'll do plan A anyway. It wouldn't matter who it is, but people will see me as a sick person for marrying my own sister. Sounds would be heard. Apparently the wedding was underway. Seriously, they weren't wasting time. I would go out to check, and when I looked out the window I would see that almost everything was ready. Come on, Cid, go change now. I'll finish getting ready and you and I will go out. Why, yes. Hey, aren't you going too far? How does aurora affect you? You've been questioning me a lot lately. Not at all. He will direct me to my room, and when I enter I will have everything ready. All that is needed is for me to become a shadow before they give us up for married and go all out and show my power. That will be the best, Jujuju. I would put on my formal clothes. In Shadow Garden. Alpha would be with some papers until someone came in. Apparently it was Delta again. Alpha-sama, the wedding is about to begin. Delta would smile. At that, Alpha would clench his fists, and the whole place would start to shake, scaring Delta. Alpha-sama? Why didn't you tell me? But Alpha-sama, I thought you already knew. This morning they announced at the advance. Delta wouldn't finish speaking as the pressure was felt more. Sorry, Alpha-sama. Where are the others? I don't know, they all left except for this one. So you knew. Alpha would surround himself with his slime suit and quickly leave the place. Wait, Alpha-sama. Delta would follow her. -666, 665, 664. Yeah? We're going to a wedding. We have to be careful and make sure everything goes well. This is the new last-minute mission. A wedding? Yes, let's go. Understood. The four would go out. Chapter 10. FIC requested by everyone, the Eminence in Shadow, the forced marriage. Chapter 10. In Migar. Can I come in? Yes, of course. Iris would enter the room and see Alexia trying on several types of dresses, but not choosing one in particular. Wow, you don't know which one to use, Alexia? I am not very sure. Gosh, why do you make things so complicated? Iris would approach Alexia. Instead of choosing a very formal dress, wear the one that suits you best and that you like to wear. A dress will not decide your fate, it is your feelings and if he is truly in love with you. You're right, Nasan. Alexia would smile and finally decide which one to use. Iris would just look at her and be a little worried about her, since although she trusted that she would be chosen, there was also the probability that she wouldn't be, and it's the first time she sees her sister in love and she wouldn't like her heart to be broken, even so nothing bad would happen. Somewhere else. I'm ready now. A girl had smiled. I don't know if I'm the one you chose, but even if I'm not, I'll respect your decision. I just want to know if you'll give me the opportunity to at least return the favor you did for me. She would remember when Cid had saved her from several people in a tavern, and would leave her gold disappearing like shadow. Somewhere else. Rose and the girls were already getting closer and closer to Cid's house. Rose evidently didn't know that the wedding she was going to was Cid's, since she wasn't very informed about when the details would be. When we arrive, get ready, everyone. Okay. The wedding will start in half an hour. I think it's a good time. They had already finished putting on my elegant suit. Although I still had to wait for the candidates, I think it will be a good idea to choose one, and before the ceremony starts I go to the bathroom. If it is what a mob would do and I enter as Shadow, what should I say? The enemy is here? No better, think of a line as the real mystery, that will be ideal. Alpha-sama? Delta continued following Alpha, who didn't stop. I just hope he doesn't take away my snacks. They all knew this isn't going to stay like this. Beta would be found wearing a beautiful blue dress. She had some flowers in her hair. They were a beautiful white/yellow color. Everything was shiny. She had some heels with a golden tip. She was ready for everything. Natsum-san, we're almost at our destination. Very good. I can't wait for Shadow-sama's decision. On the other hand, Epsilon was also ready. She also had a beautiful dress. The difference with Beta's was that hers was a black dress, although with light shiny touches that made it stand out in the light. Her heels were the same color. Are my proportions okay? Epsilon would look at himself with his mirror in his hand several times. I think the proportions are correct. She would smile as she was also heading to the Kagenou mansion. Everything seemed to be going well in both directions. -25 minutes later, the girls had arrived. Both 4 of the 7 shadows were ready and all the guests. The ceremony was almost complete, literally. Only Cid was missing to come out to decide. Wow, Beta, that's how you came. Epsilon would look at Beta, who would look at her with a little annoyance. I don't plan on losing to any of you. Zeta would have also spoken, and the tension had been felt between the 3 shadows. Ganma was only calm, since whether she was chosen by Shadow or not, she completely respected his decision. After all, she saw that everything he decided was correct. although the three remaining shadows did not agree this had become more of a competition. She is not some Kafka? And they are both. It was obvious he is too perfect, and the most beautiful girls would look for him. She would lower her gaze a little, although she would not lose her hope of being chosen by that boy who had already saved her several times before. The wedding would begin. Lights would be seen everywhere. Several spectators were included, several numbers, although they were like guards but hidden. Cid's friends Hyero and Jaga were also quite jealous since all the options were too beautiful, and they could only sit in a corner watching everything. Damn Cid, he's really lucky. I know. I would have left my room and headed outside seeing everything. Wow, I'll give you points for the presentation. I walked forward. I could see 4 of the shadows. I didn't think they would be here. Maybe they were playing my game? But that would imply that they knew my parents were plotting this. No, there's no way they could know, right? I observed Naysan, who was with them, although seeing the shadows made me feel a little more secure in case she killed me by not choosing her. I would really make a scene. When I got to where they were, I just looked disinterestedly at how a mob always hides its identity. Cuckoo. The father would begin to speak. Brothers and sisters, we have gathered here for a single purpose, the marriage of this boy who must choose someone from among all of them as his fiancé. They would all be nervous since they didn't know if one of them would end up being chosen or rejected. Why am I so nervous? Even though my body is better than the others, I feel a pressure in my chest. If anyone wants to oppose this marriage, this is the time. No one would speak or say anything. Well, in that case, Cid Kagenou, choose wisely who will be your fiancé. Well, Everyone would be expectant of the black-haired man's decision. I choose. Wait a minute, I'm against the wedding. Alpha and Delta would arrive at the wedding with the dark gaze of the shadows. Chapter 11. People would have been in shock, especially the many who were watching, as they didn't expect the leader of Shadow Garden to come out and stop the wedding, since they weren't fully informed about what was going to happen. Alpha? Oh no, now I won't be able to become Shadow if she's here. Plan A failed. Everything really went to waste. Almost all the shadows were already at my wedding, and now I could no longer carry out the wonderful plan of becoming a shadow. What should I do? Naysan had taken my hand. She thought the situation had gotten bad. Shadow Garden had come into action, and she didn't like that I was involved. Cid, we have to. Delta, upon seeing Cid, would pounce on him and hug him. Boss. Delta would move its tail side to side. Delta is enough. Leave me and don't call me boss. Boss, I missed you so much. Boss, I heard you're getting married. We're going to have 100 children. Delta would throw herself on top of me and fall to the ground. Delta, that's enough. Everyone would look at this and be confused. They no longer knew what was happening at the wedding, first Alpha's intervention and now Delta. Everything was strange, and more so for Cid's parents, since they literally did not know who those 2 girls were, and Claire was clearly pissed off because they stopped her marriage thinking that they were going to take her brother away from her. Not only did the fact of seeing several as an option bother her, but she was also more upset when she saw how Delta climbed on top of her brother Cid. She could not take it anymore. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Claire would try to get Delta off Cid, who was still clinging to him with Alexia's annoyed look. Boss. You. Alpha-sama? Beta and Epsilon would be trembling upon feeling Alpha's aura, which was stronger than ever. It was literally an aura they had never seen in her many years ago, when they were training. This aura was not more intense, it was too murderous/hateful, a mixture of both colors in a stronger tone. How dare they? We are sorry, Alpha-sama. We. Alpha? Alexia would hear this and remember the time Alpha attacked along with the others in the sanctuary. Only the mask made her obviously unrecognizable. Why the Garden of Shadows? Wait a minute, all this moment. I was being licked several times by Delta. I tried to get her off of me and I couldn't. Not even Naysan could help me despite trying several times. It seems that what I feared the most came true. She had gone into heat. Zeta, seeing what Delta was doing, wouldn't hesitate for a second to pounce on me too. I thought she would help me, but she did the same thing as Delta, except they were both fighting. Dirty Hitch, he's mine. It's not mine. Hey girls, stop, you're ruining my plan. What's happening? This wasn't supposed to happen. Damn you bucking lucky Cid. Hyero had literally been jealous of Cid, meaning it wasn't just the fact that several of the kingdom's most beautiful girls had gone after him, but now 2 beauties are kissing him? What the hell is this? I never thought that What are they doing? I have no idea, it looks bizarre. What kind of wedding is this? Wasn't this the plan they were making? Several numbers would look with a drop of sweat at what was happening. Everything was super weird. Enough. Claire would try to attack the wings too, but a loud bang had been heard before and a loud explosion happened. You could see my mother and father who had been taken hostage. But at what point did they? Shadow Garden. You better put down your weapons and do nothing if you don't want them to die. 'Tis the worst time for the cult to appear. Alpha would sigh annoyed and Epsilon and Beta would look seriously at the scene. Alpha-sama, our team is ready. Rose, Victoria, and 665 had arrived on the scene. Rose would be looking closely, and upon seeing Cid she would be in shock. She never thought that he was behind the wedding she was going to, and the worst thing is that she didn't know anything about this. She would start to clench her fist. Gee girls, why didn't you tell me that he was the one who was going to get married? Why, Because? But we told you. They didn't do it. Of course we did. Shadow-sama was going hunting. Shadow? Then I'm dead. I would just stay on the ground. Chapter 12. The Cult of Diabolos? The girls would have become serious upon seeing the cult. The Numas would come out with the slime suit to give them time to hide and be able to use all their power, of course with the exception of Delta and Alpha, who were already transformed. What are they planning? I think they have something that belongs to us. A subject would speak. His appearance was approximately 27 years old. He had a mask covering his face, and was extremely thin with a small device at his side. That is Delta, Zeta. Alpha would speak loudly towards them, who would quickly turn around with some fear towards Alpha, especially Delta. What's going on, Alpha-sama? Yeah? Remember the artifact I gave you created by ETA? The artifact? Why yes, but I gave it to Delta. Delta? Flashback. Zeta, you must take this artifact to this address, understood? May I ask what this device will be used for? We detected that an artifact caused havoc, erased the magic of several of our allies. It looks a bit like the Eye of Avarice, only that artifact consumed their magical energy and sealed it completely. I spoke with Ada to create an artifact that will remove the effects. I understand. When you arrive, tell Delta that you must recover that artifact that caused all this disaster. It could be dangerous if used again. She is the best in this type of missions where magic does not exist. So the best, huh? That remains to be seen. Alpha would disappear and leave Zeta alone with the artifact. I will prove that I am the best option in missions. Zeta would also retreat and after approximately 25 minutes would arrive in the forest. Where the hell did that hitch go? I'd been looking for her for ages. As Zeta moved, she would hear several screams nearby, so she would approach, and in doing so she would see Delta, who was hunting several bandits nearby. No, please don't go away. He would tremble with fear when he saw Delta, who looked quite stained with blood all over, smiling. Delta would give him a claw, killing him. There's nothing better than hunting at this time. I see you're having fun. Zeta would come down from the tree. What are you doing here? Delta would look at her a little annoyed since Zeta almost always didn't look for her while hunting, and the last time she did, she ruined her food. If you come to hunt, forget it, they're all mine. I didn't come for that. I have a message from Alpha-sama. Alpha-sama? He says you have to go to Professor Otaki's lab. Several cult members are suspected of being involved. Well, I'll go. Delta would smile and clench her 2 fists. Are you listening to me? You say the mission is to go kill them and recover that artifact or whatever it's called, Then it would be very easy. Delta would move and leave Zeta behind. TSK, you have no remedy. Do you have the artifact we agreed on? If it is newly invented by Professor Otaki. Perfect. A hooded man would give a box of supplies to the man who was there, and he would give the artifact. But is that all? Do you have any objections? No, not at all, it's just that the contract covered more supplies. Lend me that contract. He would take it from this one's hands. This is what you mean? Why, yes. At that, the contract would fall to pieces in an instant, leaving him quite scared. Do you have any objections? No, not at all. Okay, let's go. He and his companions would withdraw with the artifact in their hands, however, a sound would have been heard. Gag. Hey! Both would turn around and would not see anyone, however, another scream would be heard, and when they turned around, they would not see anyone, and their partner had disappeared. An attack? At that, he had stopped a claw when, looking more closely, you could see a beautiful girl with a black dress stained with blood. She had purple eyes and hair as black as night and 2 large ears. It's very strong. In that, he would attack Delta, who would simply stop the attack with his bare hand without problems. With bare hand? In that, he would receive a strong blow from Delta, which would send him flying quite far, crashing against a nearby wall, spitting blood. What the hell, it's too strong, it's absurd, I'm one of the strongest numbers in the cult, I can't lose to this brat. In that, he would use his artifact, making the whole place turn a blood/yellow color. You! Delta would look around the whole place in confusion and notice that her slime suit would slowly fall apart. You are strong, but without your magic you won't be able to defeat me, ha ha ha. At that, the hooded man would magically create 2 canes and join them together, creating a huge explosion. Delta, seeing the explosion, would move away from it when the smoke cleared and no one could be seen anymore. You're not going to escape. Delta doesn't lose any prey. Who said I would run away? The hooded man would come out behind Delta and attack her with his staff, however, Delta would dodge him and connect a strong blow, sending him far away again. What the hell? But if I denied his magic, how is it still so strong? Hee. Delta would rush towards him, who would have difficulty dodging the attack. This is absurd, she shouldn't be moving at that speed, could it be that? I couldn't think about that because Delta would immediately go through his chest, spitting out a large amount of blood, killing him. Oh, I lost my slime suit again. Delta would look at herself and be completely naked, and when she tried to do some magic she wouldn't be able to cover up. Well, now I'll go with Zeta to give this to him. Delta would move away and look for Zeta. Boss, I'm here as ordered, Shadow Garden would intervene. Report of what happened. Gavi was also killed, the teacher's assistant and much of our squad. What's next? Follow her, but be careful not to let her keen sense of smell detect you. I want to know more about her plans. Understood. I would start looking for some product that I could avoid until I found some chlorine ammonia in the lab and took it. Perfect, if he finds me I can use the ammonia and prevent him from sniffing me. I would fill my clothes with ammonia and form an oxygen mask with my red magic to avoid breathing it, and I would put it on and go out to follow her carefully. -16 minutes later. Zeta would be standing in the tree, somewhat thoughtful, until she would come out of her thoughts upon smelling the scent of Delta nearby. Zeta! Delta would arrive where she was. You're late. Zeta, upon seeing Delta naked, would turn away in embarrassment. What's going on? Put some clothes on, and you smell disgusting of blood. EW? I don't have any clothes, I'll take this thing off. Delta would show the artifact. Don't you dare follow me with that smell. Delta would approach Zeta confused. But you always hunt, and you never complained about the smell of blood. It's not the smell of blood. You smell like something else, and it disgusts me. Zeta would get away from her. Hey, what about the artifact? Take it, you dirty little hitch. What did you say? Delta would chase her. Don't come near me. Zeta would cover his nose. Nobody calls me a dirty hitch. Zeta would disappear in the smoke. Growling coward. Delta would throw the device furiously towards where Zeta was before and would leave shortly after. She finally left. I didn't think she'd have another ally, okay. The hooded man would pick up the artifact that was lying on the ground with a smile. Mission completed. Chapter 13. Let's be clear about my condition. If you hand over what doesn't belong to you, I won't kill these people. Grrrr. Delta had finally separated from me and would look at them seriously. Apparently even she understood the family situation. Iris, who was present, would be upset since she wouldn't be able to help this time. If she attacked them and they killed the Kagenou family, it would be a disaster. It's a good time for the Eminence in the shadows to make his appearance, but I can't transform, damn it. Zeta, Delta. Yes, teacher? Yes, Shadow-sama? You've got this covered, right? Because you know I can't fight when I'm like this. Don't worry, Shadow-sama. Delta will hunt everyone and won't leave anyone alone. Zeta would look at me, indicating that everything was okay. Like a good mob, it's time to get into my role. Dad, MOM. I would scream like a good mob. The situation was ripe for a great plot, and now the marriage was gone. How lucky I am. Claire would look at everything annoyed and would try to open her sword. However, he would just bring his sword closer to my mother's neck, preventing her from doing so. Well? Where's my artifact? In that, several numbers would attack the subject from behind. However, several numbers from the cult faction would get in the way of them, preventing this. Damn, there are too many. Well, so it would be bad wings. Before he cut my mother's throat, Zeta had arrived in the blink of an eye where I was holding his arm. So an interesting undercover Shadow Garden member. My blood Fang is eager to test your power. Everyone has to leave the wedding. Several knights had immediately arrived at the situation and were evacuating civilians to avoid casualties. Miss Iris, the evacuation has begun. What is the order? I hate to admit it, but it would be best if we stayed away. This is between the Diabolos cult and Shadow Garden. If we get involved, they will kill us. Alexia! Iris had shouted at her sister, who was still at the wedding. You have to come back. No, I won't do it. That? It is part of a gentleman to stop threats, even if they represent a great danger. Alexia would draw her sword. Don't be silly. You can't beat these enemies. I don't care if that's to protect the kingdom and him. Alexia would ignore her sister with the annoyance of being TSK. Iris would use her artifact and follow her. Evacuate everyone and don't come near us. Leave it to us. Yeah. Several members of the cult faction would be in a fairly even battle against the numbers. Alpha-sama, there are too many. We'll talk about this later. We have to stop them. Alpha, Beta, and Epsilon would use their slime suit when they saw that there was no one around, and their sword without hesitation. A lot of blood was raining down, and destruction was going to be present. It was Delta who was now excited while killing several of the faction. My parents would have obviously fled scared from that scene, and Claire had helped them. However, a hooded man would attack them, but in that he would use a bit of slime as about the size of my fingers and would pierce his skull. Okay. I think it's time to make my entrance, but it's still dusk. I'll wait until it's night to make it more exciting. I'd better use a little costume before the big costume if that's what I'll do. I would materialize some slime as a mask. Alexia would be fighting with difficulty against a member of the cult. You are very bad at fighting, Princess Alexia. After a small exchange of swords, he would quickly take the advantage over Alexia, beginning to corner her. Tisk, you're good. At that, blood began to fall as Alexia looked. She noticed that her cheek had been slightly cut. But at what moment did he? I'm sure he blocked his attack. How come? In that, you would see a girl with red hair and carrying a device would try to hit him, but he would move, dodging the attack. Sister, are you okay? Yes, but he is not normal. I know. Both would prepare while that guy just watched. Well, so the princess sisters will join together. It could be interesting. An energy would manifest on his two fists, and he would summon one staff. Let's see what they have. Follow me, Alexia. You don't have to repeat it to me. John Smith and Alexia Midgar enter the action. What will be the outcome of this battle? How will the marriage end? Chapter 15. Your Majesty, I have a report. The knight had knelt in a sign of respect. A tall man with red hair and a mustache of the same color could be seen, wearing elegant red clothes with some golden edges. It was the king of Midgar. The wedding was attacked by the Diabolos cult. Apparently Shadow Garden entered the battle. How are they? They asked us to move away, Your Majesty. They said it was too dangerous. What was the order? Just prioritize the safety of the people of Midgar. We can trust them to be fine. As you ordered. I would have moved a little and was killing several that crossed my path. It was really fun. There was little left for my grand entrance as Shadow the Sun Bet was slowly going down. Who the hell are you? I would use my threads and break several members' bones. Dash. When the sun sets, death will fall. Where is Cid? Claire was worried, looking for Cid in the midst of the battle, not being able to find him even though she looked and looked and looked and shouted his name. It seemed like he didn't answer. Cid! 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 Where are you? Claire would be attacked from behind, however a clean cut would have stopped it sooner. Hey! Claire would turn around and upon seeing the body she would see a hooded girl with a black mask. She knew that it was a member of Shadow Garden. Even though she didn't trust her completely, she couldn't help but thank her. If that attack reached her, it would probably be the end of her. Thanks for helping me. What are you doing here is dangerous. I lost my brother Cid. I can't find him anywhere. I managed to evacuate my parents, and I told him not to leave my side. Don't worry. We'll find him. Who are you? Rose wouldn't respond and would only stop an attack that had been directed towards her. Guide me to the possible places. Good. At that, several members of the faction would surround her with her annoyed gaze. -666 will cover you, go. -665 and 664 would have arrived and positioned themselves near where Rose was while they were increasingly surrounded. But girls, there are too many of you alone. That doesn't matter, see? Rose senpai, you love him, right? Rose would lower her head a little in shame. Then go find him, save Shadow-sama, we trust you. -664 would smile looking at her. Gee girls. Rose would have left the fight. You said it yourself. Nothing is impossible, and it's likely that Shadow-sama could have his sights set on you. We know how you are 666, not Rose-san, and you're a great girl. You definitely deserve to have a chance with the master. Do it for us. Both would smile, and instantly a rain of sword blows would occur throughout the area. Fenrir would try to cut Zeta, but she would dodge the attack without much trouble. Shortly after she dodged it, she would use two circular slime blades to try to cut it. However, Fenrir had already moved his sword in the direction Zeta was pointing, stopping the attack and generating a lot of air around it. Could you predict where he was going to attack? Fenrir would take out his fang with a smile and give a quick stop to Zeta, who would protect herself with both arms, stepping back a few meters. As soon as Zeta had looked forward, it would be realized that Fenrir was loading a large amount of red magical power into his sword and would give a small, slow slash in the air, causing a lot of pressure around her and directing it at Zeta, who would simply vanish into the smoke, dodging the attack, but said attack would be directed towards the Numers who were fighting against the faction. Damn the attack! Dodge it! The Numbers, upon seeing the attack, would try to flee. However, it was too late. The attack had managed to reach approximately 7 of them, and also part of the faction that was there. That damn guy attacked his own army? Alpha, who was fighting without many problems against several factions, would manage to see the attack that was provoked, and would quickly go to where Zeta was. What happened, Zeta? That idiot attacked his own allies to attack ours. Allies? Alpha, turning around, would notice that the Numers were extremely injured and on the ground like the faction, and she couldn't believe what she saw. So you were the one who did this? Alpha would point his sword towards this. At that, Zeta would stop Alpha, who would look at him confused. Sorry, Alpha-sama, he's mine. Are you sure? Yes, I need to get even with him for ruining the teacher's wedding. I'm eager to kill him. Zeta was getting into a wilder position. When she's like this, it's impossible to stop her. Well, I'm sure she'll be fine. I must help everyone and stop this. Wow, more members than usual showed up. Is this when the villain ambushes everyone and plans to kill them, right at a wedding? I didn't expect that at all. This is a plot twist. Chapter 16. The battle was continuing on both sides. Fenrir's faction was increasingly overwhelming Shadow Garden, and the numbers were getting bigger and bigger, and it was becoming difficult for them to keep up. It seemed like there were several against just one. Alexia and Iris were still in their battle, which seemed to be about to begin. Both would stare at each other, until Iris would get upset and would launch the attack first with her sister. At that, the masked man only limited himself to using his cane, and would create a powerful shock wave stopping his attack. Did he stop our attack? At that, he would hit Alexia hard, making her move quite far away from where she was. Iris' blood could be seen falling from her mouth. Alexia! In that, Iris would stop an attack with difficulty. Is that all for the princesses of Midgar? But how is it that he is so strong? Is that your artifact? Something happened then. The Iris weapon started to crack, and she would be surprised by what she saw, since not even Shadow did that. 12 calamities. Calamity 1, vibration. The staff would begin to emit sonic vibrations that with a slight movement would destroy the Iris weapon. But how? At that, he would have launched himself towards Iris with the intention of killing her, but Alexia would have intervened by clashing her sword against him. Alexia! I won't let you harm Midgar. It would be boring to finish you off soon. Let's see what you have, Alexia Midgar. 12 calamities, calamity deactivated. I haven't introduced myself before. My name is Ashton James, seed of the Devil's Cult, and the last person you'll ever see. What are they planning? I don't have to answer that question. The battle with Zeta was still ongoing. Apparently both were also quite even in an exchange of clashes. You've increased your impressive speed a bit. Be quiet. Rose continued on her way, and as she got closer she noticed the fight that was taking place between Alexia and Iris, and she would start to remember when she had betrayed them, and she would just watch the fight. Cid. That's when she would remember Cid smiling at her. Damn you! Blood began to rain, and only a human figure covered in it could be seen with a sadistic smile. Grrrrrrrrrr. Beta Omega and Kai had already eliminated a third of the faction, and Alpha and Nu continued their attack. Don't think you're big. At that, his head would fly into the air with the scared looks of his comrades. You could see a girl with long black hair holding this head the instant it fell. Is this the best you can do? The scared members would try to flee, but would all be cut down by us without mercy. When something soils what Shadow-sama creates, it does not deserve anyone's forgiveness. Alpha-sama, it seems that a large part of the faction is being controlled. Very good. Although there is a strange masked guy helping us, what is he doing? He is waiting for his typical entrance. Don't tell me that he... Victoria and 664 and 665 continued their attack. All three were extremely exhausted and wounded. It's the end, they have no escape. Not yet. The girls continued their attack, but all three would fall to the ground shortly after. They received attacks from several directions and defeat was approaching. It's over. Everyone would try to attack them, but instantly they would feel something stopping their bodies. Why? Fools, they're within your reach. Victoria would smile confidently. At that, everyone would fall to the ground, to the surprise of the two numbers except for Victoria, who knew who it was. I would go down to where the girls were. Victory report, what happened here? As Shadow-sama? He looks too handsome in that outfit. Sparkling heart, sparkling heart. Victoria would look at John Smith blushing. It was the first time she saw Shadow with that outfit, and his voice definitely did not fail that it was the A large part of the faction has appeared and is causing havoc. There are too many of them, and it is difficult for us to keep up with them. Come on, sending a large part of your army, is that what I call old-fashioned strategy, especially at a wedding? Wait, that plot isn't correct. We are sorry, we tried to stop them. Shadow-sama rose and was heading to look for him. Hey, more respect for Shadow-sama, and don't call her by her name. Her name is 666. Alright. Rose looking for me? And what's that for? You have to go save her, Shadow-sama. John Smith would just look at the sky and the girls would get confused and turn to look at her. It's a view, isn't it? Why yes, but why? The night is approaching. I would leave the place, leaving the two confused. What do you mean by night? I don't know, but it's Shadow-sama now, everything will be fine, right? Victoria would just hug herself, and with a blushing look she would remember John Smith's face. I've never seen him so handsome, Shadow-sama. Chapter 17. Delta continued his hunt. It seemed to have no end. He killed one after another of the cult. At that point, several threads were catching Delta's next prey. It was John Smith, who was also in combat. I'll take the prelude again, I'm sorry. Delta, looking at John Smith, would smile and hunt several more people. She liked to see her master hunting with her. It was also a nice hobby, and she didn't show up much. How is the attack going? Well, Alpha-sama, thanks to the help of Shadow-sama, we were able to control the enormous faction that came upon us. If he weren't here, we probably would have lost all. Alpha would smile a little. She really liked that he never betrayed them and that they were fighting once again. Her purpose was always clear, to defeat them, and although she planned the wedding, that was planned for when they could all be stronger and defeat the cult and show Shadow how valuable they are. But when this forced marriage happened, they weren't going to miss the opportunity. He still has to invite me to eat. Remembering when she had given her tuna sandwich to Cid and left. Yellow and red flashes were seen in the sky, several colliding into one. The more they showed, it was Zeta and Fenrir who continued their battle. Shall we help her? It's Zeta-sama, she'll be fine, and we'll just be in the way. Fenrir would use more power, starting to overwhelm Zeta. This guy increases his speed as the fight progresses? I admit it, never before has anyone resisted my blood fang and had so much fun. But I think it's time to end the fight. Fenrir would use a huge amount of red magic and create a kind of red fang with magical energy. What the hell is that thing? The fang would have approached Zeta quite quickly and he would open his fangs. He had a peculiar bloody wolf shape. Zeta, seeing this, would turn into smoke, dodging the attack. Fenrir just smiled confidently, something that unnerved Zeta quite a bit. Tisk stopped laughing. Before Zeta could get close, she would feel a strong blow to her back that would send her quite far into the air. Zeta-sama, do you really think your smoke will be able to escape my bloody fang? He will chase you until he hits the target. Deceiving him by escaping will be of no use to you. In that, Fenrir had approached Zeta, and with his sword he would cut the white-haired girl, who could only block it with her two slime weapons, which upon impact were destroyed, and she would receive a kick, and the fang still continued its attack, damaging her quite a bit. Zeta just couldn't help but spit out blood as she watched the fang not stop. She knew that if she continued like that, that thing was going to end up killing her. Me too. Zeta would begin to remember when she was rescued by Shadow and Alpha and how they gave her a hand even when she was a monster. I'm not finished. Zeta would expel a large amount of magic from his body, making everything explode and forming a large smoke screen across the entire battlefield. Zeta-sama? We have to help her. We can't just stand by and do nothing. No, if we do it, she will hate us. When she wants to hunt something, nothing can stop her. Let's not ruin her fight. What she least wants is to show that she needs help to win. But think what she would say. Seeing the smoke a little more, Zeta would be seen covered in wounds. The tusk had disappeared and she would fall to the ground quite exhausted and agitated. Well, you managed to destroy my blood fang. That's admirable. Fenrir had only approached Zeta, who could not move due to the large amount of magic he used, draining all his magical strength. But even with all his strength he would try to hit him, failing the attack. "I'll give you a little recognition, Shadow Garden member." He had pointed his sword at Zeta's neck. It seemed that the battle was decided until something had happened. Fenrir could not move his sword at all. In that, some threads would be seen that would barely be seen holding, and a dark shadow would come out. "So you're finally here? Who is he?" "Wait, this magic pressure, the Shadow Garden's leader, Shadow." "Incorrect, I'm John Smith, and it's time for the Diabolos cult to get a taste of what it's like to take on Shadow Garden." Damn, that phrase was too cool. Beta had arrived at the field, and upon seeing Zeta's state, he would quickly go to help his partner. "Shadow-sama, please be careful." The albino would think about it while helping carry Zeta, who could barely stand. Zeta would spit out a little blood and look at John Smith. "I'm sorry, Shadow-sama, Good job, Zeta." John Smith just kept his back turned while still holding Fenrir's sword. Zeta would be surprised to hear these words. Despite failing his mission, Shadow's kindness was so great. "Show your power, Shadow-sama. Don't overexert yourself, Zeta." Beta would just look at her. "Do you think this one?" "Of course. He's our leader and no one can stop him. Have you forgotten that?" Beta would just smile a little more animatedly and continue walking with Zeta at her side. Chapter 18. Alexia and Iris were continuing their battle. Both were attacking at the same time, giving Ashton some trouble, who was blocking the attacks with his staff. "Now! Alexia!" Alexia would force herself on Ashton, trying to immobilize him, while Iris was charging the magical energy accumulated in her artifact. "What are you doing? Will you receive the same attack?" "If it's to protect everyone, I'm willing to accept it as long as it kills you, idiot." Iris had already loaded the attack. "Alexia, get away!" Alexia would have quickly moved away, and Iris would launch all her power in an attack towards her, forming a large explosion around her. "So, John Smith, you work for Shadow?" "Oh, I'm more than that. I would tighten the threads around it more. I must admit that it is an interesting technique." Fenrir, with much of his power, would have broken the threads that John Smith had made and would have approached me at an impressive speed. I would limit myself to dodging the attack, however this attack would manage to graze my arm, making a slight cut. "You managed to dodge one of my best attacks. Maybe I'll need." Fenrir would use a great concentrated magic. He was creating another technique. The Cicada of the Void. The attack would be so fast John Smith would use his threads again, trying to stop it. However, the attack would have gone through them all, having no other option than stopping his attack with his bare hand, which would bleed a little upon being in contact with the attack. "Shadow-sama. Teacher." For him to even be having difficulties, it's incredible that the 5th position of the Cult of Devils is terrifying. If he's already like that, the first, how will he be? Is it impossible to stop my attack with your bare hands? Wow, he's stronger than Alpha. It took me a little by surprise. John Smith would smile and hold his chin. "What the hell are you laughing at?" "Oh, am I doing it?" He stood up and with a slightly more frightening look. "That's all?" Fenrir, feeling the aura that John Smith was leading, felt the magical pressure around him as if it were a kind of energy that suffocated the environment. No, it made the environment so he couldn't even describe what kind of pressure that was. For some reason Fenrir felt that he had to go all out from the start to avoid something terrible. Oh. Fenrir was only changing his appearance. He no longer looked like that human who had the appearance of a child. His form changed, he became a monster. His appearance changed quite a bit from what it was. Although he kept his size, he no longer looked the same. He had the body completely of a monster. "I'll show you my true power, John Smith." Fenrir would launch a great attack towards me, which upon seeing me I would simply limit myself to using my threads and moving through the air. "It's useless, your threads are useless." He would launch another attack, but something was happening. The attack was being invisibly repelled. "What's going on? Why is the attack not progressing?" "Look carefully." It would look a little closer to the threads that John Smith formed, which apparently were more powerful. They were no longer invisible, the magic could be seen and the attack would not advance at all. My threads are useless? I would have looked at my opponent between my threads. It seemed like he was floating, but he was only stepping on them in the air. You could see the beautiful moon of Sonata in the sky along with the enormous amount of magic that he released. It gave a view of a true eminence in the shadows, hiding his identity. Buck, that is. Dash. The night has come. John Smith was a great pleasure. John Smith would tighten his threads and destroy the enormous attack that Fenrir would have caused without much difficulty, but at the same time, before the smoke could expand John Smith, something was happening. A dark energy was surrounding him, and the slime had completed its transformation into shadow. All the smoke would disperse. Dash. I call that changing from a mysterious character to a true eminence in the shadows. You were impossible. Beta couldn't help but blush at seeing such a scene next to the numbers that were there. Delta, who continued his hunt upon hearing the loud noise and turning to see, visualized his boss, and Alpha, who was on top of a tower, would also smile, would look at the scene and visualize the change. The explosion had dissolved, but in that something happened. You could see a magical energy field surrounding the 8th seat of the cult, leaving Alexia and Iris shocked, especially Iris. It was the best attack she had ever done, and she used all her magic for nothing, but before she could think more she would feel a blow to the stomach. It was the staff. That would send her far away. GGUH. Sister. 12 calamities. Calamity 5 magic shield. The shield continued to be seen until it fell apart. I admit it was a good attack. If that had hit me it would have really hurt me, but now. It's time to finish, isn't it? He would throw himself at Alexia with clear intentions. Alexia would not be able to see the speed at which he was heading and would only limit herself to closing her eyes, waiting for her death. But something happened. A metallic crashing sound would have been heard. When she opened her eyes a little, she would see a girl with short yellow hair and a completely black suit and her sword. There was no doubt she was. You are. Dash. Help a friend. Rose had stopped the attack with her sword. Why you? Alexia would remember when the rumors of Rose killing her father, and the promise she made with Beta and Rose, why she had returned in this situation. Why? There were questions to answer. Dash. Wait a little longer, Cid Kagenou, no Shadow Kagenou. Chapter 19. The battle continued. Flashes were seen everywhere. The magical pressure prevented anyone from getting close to the great battle that these two were fighting. Fenrir. Dash. Moon Demon. Fenrir began to give more powerful attacks as time went by. Shadow. Dash. I can't see his attacks. His battle style is. At that, Fenrir would throw another slash at me. This time I stopped it, however the attack would have deviated from its trajectory, and I would move again, however he had torn my slime suit. 558. Dash. Impossible to tear the slime? Beta. Dash. Shadow-sama, please be careful. At that, a loud shudder had been heard. It was Fenrir who was doing another massive energy attack. It was the same one he had used against Zeta. Blood Fang. The attack would be directed towards Shadow with a clear intention. Shadow would initially try to avoid it, however he would notice that the attack was following him. Dash. It seems like he'll follow me to the end of the world. What a nuisance. He would have stopped running and stayed where he was. Zeta, what are you doing, teacher? Beta. He plans to meet him head on. That magic attack won't stop until it hits its target. In that, Shadow would use a little of his magical energy, and with a big cut he would make the attack fall to pieces. Dash. Was my attack impossible? At that, Shadow had approached Fenrir without him noticing and would stare at him. In magical terms, you have more magic than Alpha and you know how to use it perfectly. If it were another enemy you would have won. But it's time to finish. At that point, the distance in which he had been far away would visualize Rose, who was fighting with Alexia and Iris against another opponent. Rose-senpai? Without realizing it, Shadow was no longer speaking as usual. He unintentionally changed his voice to Mob Cid Kagenou. This voice, it's you. You were the student at that academy. Fenrir would not have finished speaking and would have been directly impaled in the chest by Shadow. Ugh. He would have spat blood and started to close his eyes. After all, I cut his heart, although his last words surprised me. You were Kagenou, another world. Fenrir would finish closing his eyes and fall from the sky lifeless. Another world? Whatever. He would fall slowly from the sky until he reached solid ground. Beta, Shadow-sama, I'm so glad. Zeta, you have defeated him, Master. It was worth expecting from you. Shadow, he was pretty strong for a member of the cult. Wait a second, shit, I forgot. As soon as this is all over, the girls will ask me, damn it, I killed him instead of using him as an excuse to fake my death. The battle continued on both sides. I don't feel Master Fenrir's energy. Why? Ashton would turn around, and upon seeing Shadow and the body of his master on the ground, he would be quite surprised. He didn't think that Fenrir would be defeated, and even more so that Shadow himself would arrive. We'll leave it here. You won't run away. Rose would try to attack him, however he was no longer there. He had vanished, and his magical presence was no longer felt at all. Coward. Alexia, hey you. 666 Rose. Alexia, thank you for saving us. Iris, even though you're from Shadow Garden, we don't trust you, but thank you for saving us. 666 Rose, it was nothing. Iris, don't get me wrong, next time we see each other we'll be enemies. The blonde-haired girl would just leave, leaving the two of them alone. Alexia, she. Iris, what's up, Alexia? Alexia, it's nothing, we have to go back. A girl with black hair would have approached me upon closer inspection. It was Nu, Gamma's assistant. Nu, Shadow-sama, the Diabolos cult has been defeated. Shadow, okay, how are the numbers? Nu, the 56 numbers that were in the attack have already been healed by Alpha-sama and Epsilon-sama. Shadow, 56? But wasn't the wedding for 70 people maximum? So my wedding was mostly full of numbers. Nu, what's up, Shadow-sama? We await orders. Shadow, the wedding was a disaster, it's best to retire. I would then feel a familiar magical presence. It was Delta, who would hug me and I would fall back to the ground. Delta, what are you? Delta hunted all the bad guys. Delta wants Shadow-sama to pamper her, Disa. You're stained with blood. Delta would pout a little. Well, the least I can do is pamper her a little. It really saves me the trouble of killing the other extras and leaving the boss alone. He stroked her a little, and she would instantly move her tail side to side and cling to him more. Delta, you smell like blood, don't get too close. Delta, boss, did you know that I'm hungry? I'm not satisfied yet. Hey! You said I could ask for anything I want once I forget it, Disa? It's true, Delta helped me that time to find the gold I lost when I was John Smith, although I had forgotten it. Delta wants you to know if this could be your favor, Disa. She would have approached me and would be sniffing me, slowly lowering her face. I won't do that, not even as a joke, Delta. I would try to get away, but it was too late. Delta was already too close. Zeta, who had recently finished magically healing herself, would see what was happening and would not hesitate to approach me and do the same. I told you he's mine. Dirty sewer cat. Damn, had they gone into heat again? This wouldn't be the only thing that would happen. The girls had entered separately. They were Epsilon and Beta who, seeing what Zeta and Delta did to Shadow, wouldn't be fair to them. Hey, that's enough. At that, Alpha would have raised his voice, scaring everyone. Shadow-sama must be very tired, let him rest. Thanks Alpha, you saved me. Shadow-sama, if it's not too much trouble, I know you're exhausted and must have a lot to do right now, but could you tell us who you'll choose? Alpha was also on his side apparently, although he wouldn't admit it. He wanted to know Shadow's answer and not be left with doubts as he always did. Hey! Chapter 20. I have no intention of this marriage being real, understand? It's just a plan to get my parents to. It doesn't matter, Shadow-sama, tell us. Well, about this. I would start looking at various parts, trying to find an excuse to get out of this problem. The plan would be to pretend to be my partner for a mission. What kind of mission, Shadow-sama? They would approach me uncomfortably without letting me breathe well. Is one of you prepared to be with me falsely, do you understand? It's not a real wedding. I'm not getting married yet. It's all to temporarily avoid a future threat. All we are ready. Really? I just told them we'll pretend to be a couple and that it's all fake and they still want to be my fake partner? Wow, I think they already know how to play my Eminence game perfectly. Before I could say out loud, a beautiful girl with yellow eyes like the sun and hair that dazzled like the sun short had a dark slime suit. There was no doubt in the slightest it was Rose-san. Why was she here? Was the doubt that fit in my mind. Well, at least she could help me get out of this problem, however. Cid-kun. You were always there. The one who saved me that night, remember? Don't say my name. Seriously, the name I used that time was very stupid, and I even regret having chosen that as an Eminence. It's a terrible name. She would try to hug me but would be stopped by the other shadows who were quite jealous. -666. What are you doing here? Finish your mission. Alpha-sama, just let me confess what I feel for him. They would all have been upset, however Shadow acted calmly so they wouldn't dare do anything while he was there. After all, she was recruited by him, and doing something reckless would be insulting him. Cid-kun, you? Wait a second. I can't let her say it. If she does, the shadows here will massacre her and one of my plans to invade Midgar will go to ruin. Shadow would move slightly closer to his ear and whisper. It's not time yet. Rose would be somewhat surprised after hearing those words that had been said to her, but she would have understood the reason for his response. Literally, Shadow was forced to get married and there were possibilities that he still did not want to do it. The best thing was to make a more prudent decision. I understand. Go fulfill your mission, Rose-san. We'll see each other at moonset tomorrow. And? Rose would have withdrawn, still somewhat blushed, looking down. I could have chosen Rose-san as a future false candidate. It wouldn't be a bad option. After all, he would have gold, and he would be king of Midgar. However, the problem would be that he wouldn't have freedom as much as a mob and mysterious mob character that seems weak. And as a shadow and hunt in the shadows, although I could still try to convince her tomorrow to invade Midgar, I will start slowly. I think it will be a good idea for a future plot. Well, now back to the beginning. The girls would have literally attached themselves to Shadow without being able to let him decide yet. Girls, that's enough. All choose me, no friend. I'll choose, but let me make a good decision. At that point, they would all have moved away from Shadow, anxiously awaiting his decision and nervous at the same time, since they didn't know who they would choose, and if he chose one, they would all have to admit it and respect the decision he was going to make. It would be the best for everyone. Okay, let's get one thing straight. This marriage is fake. Understand? So, no children or personal stuff is fake, and we'll just pretend to be a couple temporarily. All understood. Really? That mob technique didn't work? I thought if I said that they would feel it as a rejection, but on the contrary, their expectations had increased. Wow. They really take things seriously when I said they'd been playing along with my Eminence since I was a child. Alpha. They would all have been surprised to hear what Shadow had said, although they knew that the marriage was going to be fake anyway, and that Alpha was the one with the most chances with him, as she was the closest to him, and the second leader of Shadow Garden. Still, they felt somewhat sad except for Zeta, Epsilon, and Beta. The girls had made the right decision. Even Delta thought it was the best option since Shadow's children would come out stronger, forgetting that everything was fake. Of all of them, I think Alpha is the one who is the least attached to me and feels some obsession. She also controls Mitsugoshi's finances, and the Ju gold could be useful to me. Plus, my missions would be less tedious now, and she would be very good at pretending to be my partner. For her part, Alpha would be totally excited inside and could barely stand without changing her personality out of pride, and with difficulty she would pronounce the following words. Alpha, it will be an honor to help you with the mission, Shadow-sama. It's time to go back. Shadow would have left the place. Delta, congratulations, Alpha-sama. Very strong children will be born. Make sure Shadow-sama reaches 100. Alpha would radiate an aura that would scare Delta. Delta, sorry, I forgot it was a mission. Forgive me. Alpha, everyone come back. All, how to order Alpha-sama. They would all have retreated, leaving Alpha alone. I'll do my best, Shadow-sama. Alpha was sad for the first time, and the strong and proud personality she had was no longer there. She literally reached her limit, and for that reason she asked everyone to leave. Delta, oh Alpha-sama, I wanted to ask you if... Alpha, Delta. Delta, why yes, I'm leaving now. Delta would leave the place quite scared. Chapter 21. It would have been 1 day since the forced marriage event. While trouble had happened, it was a strange plot. For the first time I didn't know how I wanted it all to end, although that's what a mysterious plot means, where the mob doesn't have the slightest idea of what's going on or not. I was in my bed thinking until I closed my eyes. When I closed them slightly I would see a curious light. It was white like that time, but at the same time that strange light, when I visualized a little more I could barely see several of the shadows with me, and I was in several versions. That? When I tried to get closer I would have woken up. By doing so I would only look at the daylight. It seemed that it was already late. I would only wake up yawning with some sleep. What a day! My parents at least weren't worried about the situation anymore. Although the wedding was a disaster, there would still be some investigations to find out the whereabouts of both organizations. Like any good background character, I would pretend to be scared in the interviews people did with me. Like, why the hell would the best options end up with a family as bad as mine? I thought maybe it was a matter of luck, or they were playing along. Narrator. He never realized that it was because everyone loved him and that's why they chose to get married on their own, although the next day Alexia's family would have found out, and would have obviously interfered with their plans by canceling all kinds of proposals. Apparently only Rose and the girls were left, but now Cid could no longer pretend to be in a relationship with Rose. Now that Alpha was already in that position, he would have to find another way to try to convince her. When I left my room I felt a warm hug. It was my sister. I thought it was a scolding or another of her falsely warm hugs, but I had been wrong when I visualized her appearance more. She was serious, as if she knew something. Cid, are you sure about your decision? Which decision? Don't play dumb. Those shadows were looking at you with eyes of love. It's that when I saw them, that dog girl. Delta? I don't have any relationship with her, she's just a friend. At that point my sister would have approached me murderously, and would have looked at me with a rather disturbing look. You better. Why yes, Nay-san. In Shadow Garden. Did you hear that news? Which? Alpha-sama is Master Shadow's girlfriend. It was to be expected. She was the second in command, and she was closer to Shadow-sama and is feared even by the shadows. Shall we say 666? No, if we tell her, she'll be devastated. We could do it the same way. He'll find out, and if he loves the teacher so much he'll only accept the decision with pain. Oh. Ganma was with Alpha in his huge dressing room. Alpha-sama will have a date with Shadow-sama tonight? Yeah. Let me pick out these outfits for you. Several Mitsugoshi employees would approach with several outfits for the blonde-haired girl, who just looked confused since she didn't see it as special to wear clothes for a date. If Alpha-sama is going out with Shadow-sama, it's best to choose an outfit that matches you. Ganma would show several types of attractive dresses to Alpha. Set? You always wear your black dress, Alpha-sama, but maybe another look will make your beauty stand out more. We also have more types of underwear so you can make Shadow-sama fall in love more. But I like to wear my sportswear. But. Alpha would sigh with a smile and approach Ganma. I'm sorry, Ganma. Since I was born I was a monster until he saved me and I helped him build everything. Maybe I never had the time to have fun. Tell me, do you have something for me? Ganma would smile happily. Here. Alpha-sama managed to become Shadow-sama's partner. That means strong children will be born. Doesn't it bother you that I didn't choose you? Zeta would look at Delta with curiosity. No, as long as the boss is happy, Delta will be happy and has a great partner, and the children that come out will inherit the strength of both of them. Delta couldn't be happier. Wow, you're strange. And you, Zeta? Aren't you glad the boss finally made up his mind? Delta would look at her as she curled up on the couch like a literal puppy. Ami. I really wanted to be her partner. Zeta? Yes, I'm glad. In that, Delta would use its advanced sense of smell and detect that Zeta was lying. You lie. Hey! Delta would approach Zeta, who looked at her with some nervousness. What are you hiding, Zeta? I'm not hiding anything. What are you talking about? Could it be that? It's not that. Zeta doesn't think there will be strong descendants? It's not what? Don't you have faith in Alpha-sama? Damn, hitch, so much stress for nothing. Zeta would leave the place upset, and Delta would only growl a little at the way I spoke to her. Beta, on the other hand, was still writing her chronicles of Shadow-sama, although with less emotion this time, since although she knew that the couple could be fake, she still wanted to be Shadow-sama's partner, even if it was fake, to be able to know more about him. But if her lord chose Alpha, it made more sense since she was the second in command and possibly had more connection. Chronicles of Shadow-sama. The protagonist pretended to go out with the girl he didn't love to avoid a catastrophe was a mission. The girl who still loved him is still waiting for his answer. Not like that. Beta would put her book away, somewhat stressed. I'd better go out and get some air. Beta would go outside dressed normally to get some fresh air. I have to be firm and accept that Shadow-sama chose the best option. The mission is first, Beta. While Beta walks, she would run into Epsilon, who was also thoughtful. Epsilon? Yeah, Beta? What are you doing? I just went out for a walk, nothing in the world. Oh, I understand. Beta would walk in another direction. Beta. Yeah? Why do you think Shadow-sama chose you? No. I don't know, but it's Shadow-sama. He surely did it, being considerate and making the best decision. Beta would smile, and Epsilon, knowing that, would relax more and think about what his lord would do. If it's Shadow-sama's decision, I'll be happy to accept it. The night had arrived, and after a good day like the Eminence in the shadows. It seems there is no specific plot? In that I would feel a somewhat familiar magical presence. It was a girl number. Although I didn't know who she was, I recognized that her power was that of a known slime. Shadow-sama, I have something to notify you. Speaks. Follow me. The number would have moved, and without any other option I would have chased her. Spending a good while, she would have taken me to what seemed like a huge, beautiful room. Everything was dark and you couldn't see absolutely anything. The person waiting for you is upstairs, Shadow-sama. Wow, it doesn't look bad. In fact, it would be a good mansion for the Eminence in the shadows. I would walk through the darkness and climb the steps until I reached the top, where I would open a door that had taken me to the roof. Upon entering the roof, a beautiful view was seen contemplating the moon, and a beautiful elf with long blonde hair was seen. She had a beautiful dress that made her elegant beauty stand out, and elegant heels. There was no doubt it was Alpha, and there was a table with food of the highest quality, and some candles as a detail, along with roses around. Welcome, Shadow-sama. Why is Alpha dressed like that, and why is there food? I think she played along and invited me on a date, so I'll reciprocate like a good fake husband. At that, the slime that Shadow had began to surround him, and he would quickly have another look. He had a smoking black as the sky and tennis shoes with golden edges and a small tail in his hair that held it up. His appearance was similar to when he was John Smith. The difference was that he didn't wear a mask, and the slime did a great job with the details. Alpha, upon seeing Shadow, would turn around in embarrassment and cover her face. It was really the first time that both of them were in such an intimate moment. There was no one around to bother them. There was only that person who had saved her so long ago and admired her so much, and the person she admires so much, and created with him what would be the organization of her life. She trusted her for such an important task. It was an honor. What's wrong, Alpha? I would sit down and have a glass of the best quality wine. It was truly a pleasure to drink this wine that I only tried once due to my savings. Alpha would quickly regain his senses and turn around. The mission is turning out to be successful, right? Yes, we will have to explain to my parents about this fake relationship, and when the time comes, end it and complete the real mission. Yes. Finish it? What's wrong? I notice you're a little distressed. But they won't believe us with words, Shadow-sama. Do you think we can temporarily pretend to live together? Wow, that would be a good idea. It really hadn't occurred to me that way I could run away from home whenever I want and be the Eminence without having to pay attention to my sister, and with Alpha in the house there would be no suspicions, and he would let me be free while he gives me the reports faster. Alpha, you really know how to make a plot. I'll give you points. Hello? I hope you all enjoyed the chapter. I decided to post since it was Saturday and I had a free day. I'll be back to uploading daily as always soon. Take care. Your sponsor Lance loves you. P.S. For those waiting for a new episode of the next novel, don't worry, I haven't forgotten the plot of Eminence in Zombies. However, the development of this one and the exams prevented me from continuing it. And since it's a more complicated plot, I need to have a very well-written script and dedicate more effort to it, but that novel will return. Chapter 22. There would be a meeting of shadows. All were present except Zeta. Beta, Alpha-sama, the 7 shadows are here as you asked us. Epsilon, it's another meeting of the month to talk about topics like Mitsugoshi. Delta, I'm hungry. Alpha, well, we started the meeting of the 7 shadows. Gamma, but what about Zeta? Beta, I don't know, she said she was going to come but she didn't end up coming. Alpha, gosh, it's typical of her that she doesn't usually attend meetings lately. She didn't do it much in the first place, but now she hasn't answered any of my calls. I'm worried. Delta, maybe Zeta is restless. Delta would mention this while licking her arm. Beta, worried? Why? Delta has noticed that lately Zeta is more focused on her solitary work than on her main one, and normally species like her tend to do it when something worries them or makes them anxious. Alpha, gosh, I just hope that whatever he does, he has a good reason to never attend my calls. Well, it's time to talk about Mitsugoshi Ganma's funds. How is everything going? Ganma, well, according to statistics there are more and more people coming to Midgard to buy our products. Ganma would say this while showing the sales graph chart increasing. Alpha, that looks good, people are buying more products. Beta, yes, my idea of distributing them by hiring employees to distribute them to more kingdoms besides Midgard was a great idea. Beta would have smiled as she looked at the graph. Alpha, how is the new ETA product coming along? Ada, burger with black food coloring on the way. Delta wants to try one. Delta would approach ETA and take the hamburger. Epsilon, yeah, but isn't it strange that it has another color? How does that attract customers? Ada, this product would be called Shady Burgers. Alpha, the color is striking and interesting, we could make them in honor of Shadow-sama. Beta, I like the idea. Ganma, I'm not sure it's a good idea just because of its different color. Delta would bite the burger and taste it, and the second after tasting it she would spit it out. Wakala tastes horrible, Delta doesn't like the burger. Ganma, that's why I said it wasn't a good idea. Ada, I'll put less of the coloring noted. Ganma, I didn't say that. Epsilon, by the way, Alpha-sama, how is your date with Lord Shadow going? Beta, yes. Alpha, quote? Beta, have you been to the movies yet? You already let yourself be captured by an evil person and he saved you? He already saw you in lingerie? The two would approach Alpha, who just looked at them confused. Ganma, girls, please don't bother Alpha-sama. Beta, since. Alpha, although I admit that. After the meeting of the shadows and Cid returning to classes, everything was going according to Cid's plan, which was that when returning from classes and Alpha his homework, these two were going to see each other in the park to be able to talk about the situation of Cid's family. Wow, it's almost time for exams. Although there shouldn't be any problem after all, I can copy. The problem is that security has increased too much. Maybe at night it would be best to infiltrate and take out a few more guards. While I was walking I would have already reached the park and I would sit near the water fountain. At the moment of doing so, almost in the blink of an eye, a beautiful elf with yellow hair had appeared. There was no doubt it was an alpha who was very well dressed, although it was normal if it was the first time she was going to come to my house. I'm here as you requested, Shadow-sama. Okay, we should go, Alpha. Chapter 23. I was walking next to Alpha towards my house. The truth is that I didn't want to explain to my parents, it was going to be very tedious. So that's why I called Alpha, and I'll be a witness so it would save me problems, although I still have to see Rose-san tonight. As we walked, people stared at us quite a bit. It was a little uncomfortable, but it was normal. Ability 221 of being the mob. People envy that you have someone quite special by your side. I saw it in an anime. This should work. Alpha just walked while she was a little thoughtful. Really, the idea of a forced marriage was false, yes. But knowing that it will end sooner or later did not please her, and more so because of the fact that she never went out with Cid/Shadow for the same reason that the shadows would make a mess, knowing that it was a false relief to the situation. Although even so, if someone questioned Alpha, she would not dare to tell him personally, knowing the consequences that this entailed. Who is she? Will she be his girlfriend? So the rumors that Cid Kagenou had gotten married were true, but I didn't think she would be his girlfriend. Damn, who's lucky enough to be beautiful enough to end up with a peasant? It's true, maybe they threatened her or there were negotiations. People were talking behind our backs, listening to everything. However, like a good mob, I continued on my way. The plan worked, although now I would have more influence, and as a mob, that was terrible for my character. Nei-san, can we buy some ice cream? Dash H, huh? Shadow-sama? Dash, follow me, the Alpha game. Dash, I see it must be some plan of Shadow-sama, but so sudden? Yes, I'll buy you that ice cream. Oh, so they're brothers. Shit, I was already scared. Great, that means we might have a chance with her. It was obvious that it was impossible for her to be his girlfriend. Even though she is the sister of someone like him? Maybe he dresses like that because he wants to. After all, he seems harmless. He's a fool. Alpha was listening to what the others were whispering, and with an annoyed expression, he was really holding back from breaking free and killing someone. Dash, wait, Alpha, you're going to kill someone. If you do it, my plot will be ruined. Cid looked at Alpha with a drop of sweat, and quickly took his hand to try to calm him down. As a good mob, he had to pretend they were brothers, and once he took his hand, they would go towards the ice cream. Alpha, upon feeling Cid's delicate hands, would blush quite a bit. Cid was really acting very strange, first with the Nei-san thing, and now he took her hand. With difficulty, she could stand up, and with people looking at them it was uncomfortable even though they were brothers. I want some ice cream, Nei-san. Why yes, right away. Dash, Shadow-sama, stop already, this is too embarrassing even if it was a mission. She doesn't look bad at all, she's very pretty. Who is she? I don't know, but we have to conquer it no matter what. Hello, how are you, beautiful? Do you have a minute? Dash, get lost, was the blonde-haired girl's response, leaving the two frozen. It would also leave Shadow a bit sweaty since he didn't know about that cold side of Alpha, although he had already seen it with the shadows. Come on, just leave us. The boy would approach Alpha, who, before he could touch him, would quickly grab his arm and forcefully throw him to the ground, leaving everyone around surprised. Do not touch me. Joichi. His partner had frozen. Damn Hitch, you'll see. Before he could pull out his alpha weapon, she would hit his stomach with her heel, causing him to become unconscious. What's up, do you want one too? The criminal would have simply left, taking his scared companion with him. The people around would observe the scandal that had been made. Literally everyone stared. Several girls would admire the strength of Alpha. She was too beautiful but also strong, and how she defended her brother from danger. Other men would feel fear and retracted about wanting to conquer her, although some fetishists, despite that, only increased their desire. Dash, you exaggerated, Alpha. Incredible. You're awesome. What's your name? Do you go to the same school where you learned to fight? Alpha would just ignore the whole crowd and had retreated, leaving Cid behind. Hey, wait, Alpha. Dash. It's just as Zeta-sama predicted. Dash, it worked. Damn, I'm never going on another mission that involves pretending to be a stupid teenager challenging a girl like that. The leader must be crazy to do this nonsense, right? Dash. Yes, you can leave now. The two would have retired, but not before receiving the money, obviously, since they had been hired by the Zeta faction to use them as bait for the plan. He had followed Alpha, who had gone quite far away but finally stopped. Apparently she wanted a place away from everyone. Dash, will he have gotten angry? I'm so sorry, I forgot the fact that we had another goal, my lord. Dash, and now you apologize? Okay, after all it's the fault of those who got in the way. Shall we continue? Yeah. Before moving I would feel a blow from behind. When I turned around it was Alexia-san, who would grab my head and literally hit me like a match. Ouch. Hey Pachi, how are you? Stop doing that. Alpha, upon seeing Alexia, would remember the time she humiliated Cid and would try to calm down. She had barely calmed down after the previous incident, and now the worst person in the situation came. Hi. Are you coming with him? I don't talk to people like you. Alpha would sidestep, ignoring Alexia, who would be confused. Dash, wait, she is? Alexia would remember when she went to the sanctuary and the time of the wedding. The face was exactly the same as that girl from the shady garden. She was sure it was her. But she didn't know why she was with Cid. Dash, why is he with Pachi? What is he planning? Dash, why is Alpha behaving like this? Did he discover my plot? No, that's impossible. I haven't told anyone about my plot yet. Hey Pachi, what do you say we go to school? It's not too late to go to. In that Alexia-san I would squeeze my parts falling, but she wouldn't let me fall. Are we going, Pachi? Why yes. Before Alexia takes me I would be stopped by Alpha, who would look at Alexia with a serious face. Sorry, he and I will go to school today. Like that? Alexia was getting annoyed little by little. Faking a smile that scared. The atmosphere was getting heavy. Even if she tried to escape it would be of no use. I could only wait and see what would happen without dying in the attempt. Yes, so if you excuse us. Alpha would take me by the arm and take me away from Alexia. Dash, school? But she doesn't go to school. I see. Alexia would take my shoulder again, moving me away from Alpha with more force. Gee girls. Dash, I won't let a dirty girl touch Shadow-sama. Alpha would take my arm again, and there would be a small clash. Alpha was about to use his magic power. The pressure was starting to be felt little by little. All that was left was to die, but then a scream was heard. Ayaha! A monster was attacking the streets, being stopped by several knights who were at a disadvantage against this enormous 5-meter beast. Alexia would let me go. I haven't lost, you heard? She would have gone to support the knights. We should intervene, Alpha. May he die better. But the mission will be ruined. Alpha would sigh in annoyance and change her school outfit to her slime outfit. Dash, sometimes I don't understand why Shadow-sama is interested in that woman. Chapter 24. Dash, when all seems lost, the Eminence in the shadows will appear and make his entrance with an iconic phrase, if that's what I'll do. Before I could transform, a loud sound had been heard. It was Alpha, who had already defeated the creature without problems. Dash, Alpha would come back and look at me face to face. Apparently she was already determined to really leave, because she wasn't one of those who were very patient, or so I noticed, but it was strange with the shadows, it seemed the opposite, but here it wasn't like that. The mission was completed, my lord, may we withdraw? WL. Alpha would leave at a speed that seemed like it would disappear into thin air. I would follow her, and we would have arrived at my house in an instant. We arrived. Yeah. Dash, maybe it was a bad idea now that I think about what I'm going to do. I hope it doesn't get out of hand when my sister interferes, or even I wouldn't be able to stop her. I could resort to the exaggerated method and covertly attack being Shadow if the case arose. When we both arrived at my house, I wouldn't be greeted by anyone as usual. I was only greeted if Nei-san came with me or if Nei-san came alone. It seemed that in this family it didn't matter anymore since they discovered I had no potential. Well, that wasn't a mystery. I always pretended to be the mob that was a simple average of the lowest of all. It wasn't a surprise. Footsteps would be heard. Of course there was an exception. Nei-san had arrived, and upon seeing Alpha her gaze had changed, and she would greet me as always. Alpha would bend down a little and formally greet Nei-san, who would also do so to demonstrate her manners. She is Shadow-sama's sister. I understand that Zeta takes care of her, but Zeta hasn't done her job since that day. Cid, can you come here for a bit? Sure, Nei-san, I'll be back, Alpha. When I approached Nei-san, she would take my hand and we would hide behind a wall. What's up, Nei-san? Who is she? Claire would squeeze Cid's neck with some force, making it difficult for him to breathe. I is my girlfriend. You what? My parents asked the marriage. TSK, they didn't respect that I could take care of you. But nay. Claire would stop strangling Cid and stand up. Why was she your choice? Why, yes. My legs were shaking like a good mob, brother. Claire would look at Cid with a small pout. Alpha was really quite beautiful, however it was still necessary to know what she was like to know if she was worthy of being with her brother, because it could be that Alpha is a profiteer or toxic with her brother, and did not trust her. Although more than not trusting her, she wanted to take care of her brother. She thought that the idea of having another person other than her was absurd. It was totally absurd. It was she who deserved to be with him. They were brothers after all, and their bond was greater than any. In that whispers had been heard when listening better, it was the voice of Cid's parents, who were talking to Alpha. Wow! Are you my son's girlfriend? You are very beautiful! Alpha had a small drop of sweat, although it felt great to be praised like that, since part of taking the step was to be liked by Cid's family. Claire had reached where they were and was somewhat jealous. She would approach Alpha. How can I know that you will take good care of my brother? Maybe I'm not the best partner for him, but I'll do my best to make him happy. Do you know what his favorite food is? His favorite things? What he likes to do? And Nei-san? He likes everything, and he really likes having adventures with his sister. Do you really know? But as if as a mob knows Shadow is watching me. Wait a minute? Do you know how to cook? How strong are you? Do you go to the same school as him? Nei-san, I think that. I can cook, I can prepare everything. Yes, I go to the same school as him, and I can't reveal that. Claire, I think you should stop. Don't convince me. If you are his girlfriend, say something that he loves to do. He loves to escape when he has other things to do. He really likes ice cream. Girls, stop it. Claire would look at Alpha and, sighing annoyed, would approach her and whisper in her ear. Don't you dare do anything strange with him. I'll be watching you. I still don't trust you. What? I won't do that. You better not do it. Hey, could we change the subject? Yes, I think it's the best, daughter. We shouldn't judge her like that. We don't know anything yet. That was all from me. Goodbye. Claire would go to her room, but not before having taken Cid with her. Good heavens, really. We truly regret our daughter's attitude. She is very overprotective of Cid, and they have taken great care of each other since they were children. It is normal that she does not trust people who are his friends. Just give her time and you will gain her trust. Okay, I understand that, don't worry. And tell me, how did you meet? Love, you shouldn't ask that. Alpha would remember when Cid rescued her from being a monster and got the idea of Shadow Garden, but obviously she couldn't say that, so she would use another excuse. We met at school. Cid, are you really happy with her? And Nei-san? Answer me. I can't refuse. Claire would sigh. I'll see if she's a good companion for you, okay? If something strange happens or something similar, you'll have to come to an understanding. You understood, and can I go now? I'm a little worried. It would do me good if you stayed a little longer. Will. Nei-san would hug me and stroke my hair. I love you so much, my silly brother. Chapter 25. Alpha continued talking with Cid's parents, although the problem was that Cid didn't come back, so he assumed that Claire had told him something. This way she wouldn't be able to see the trust her parents had in her. It was a big step, and that Cid couldn't see it was quite disappointing, but the mission came first. The plan isn't going the way I want it to. My sister won't let me go out, and knowing her, she won't let me go all night. I'll have to talk to Rose tonight and come back. I guess this time I'll break my mob character rule a little. I would start to expel a little magic around the room using it as a sleeping pill. I evidently expelled very little into the air, manipulating the particles in order to prevent Naysan from noticing. However, using so little magic would make the effect take a few minutes. Cid. Why yes? Who do you love more? That girl or friend? Whom to you, Naysan? In that, Naysan would take my neck and squeeze it quite tightly. Oh really? S-I. In Shadow Garden meanwhile, Delta was eating some candy that Ganma had given her in a small bag. Growling, nothing better than candy. Delta loves candy. I don't think so. What are you doing, Epsilon? Delta asked curiously, looking at what her partner was doing. Apparently she was preparing chocolate. I'm trying to make the best gift for my man for Valentine's Day tomorrow, but I still haven't decided what to give him. Valentine's Day? Delta didn't know it was almost Valentine's Day. Relax, I thought something like this would happen, so I made some chocolates for you to give to Shadow-sama. Epsilon is the best. Delta, about that time you haven't told anyone, right? Fact, the time Epsilon accidentally revealed his secret to Delta, but she didn't listen, and gave him a lot of candy in exchange for not telling anyone. That time? Delta doesn't remember anything. Thank God I forgot. If she remembered that, she would have so many problems. I'll try not to be distracted, and be more careful about what I say when I'm not in my room. Beta was also cooking a large chocolate with the jealous gaze of Epsilon, who would immediately return to the charge. Delta just looked at this confused and went back to bed. I'm telling you, that's a bad idea. I don't like the shady burger as a menu idea. Delta. Yeah? Delta would rise. Do you want to try the burger one more time? Wakala, no again, I don't like that burger eta. It doesn't taste bad anymore, try it. Delta would take the burger and sniff it. The smell is not the same. Delta would take a bite, and when she did, her eyes would shine brightly. Would Delta likes it. Successful test of new product, the Grim Burger, is complete. Hey Delta, do you know where Zeta went? Delta continued eating her burger quite happily as if there was no tomorrow. Zeta hasn't appeared for a week. She asked me where it is for a while. I need someone to bring new cocoa, and she was the only one of the shadows who knew where to find it. I guess I'll have to send some numbers. And Naysan, what are you doing? Claire had climbed on top of Cid, who was immobilized by some ropes so he couldn't move. At that, Naysan had kissed me on the cheek. Do you love me? And Naysan, this is? I can't free myself. I'm in the mob phase. I guess I'll just have to endure it. Before anything else happened, the magic effect had been a success, and Claire would fall asleep before anything else happened. I did it. Now I must leave here and have Alpha leave so I can make my entrance as Shadow in the darkness before Rose. I would free myself from the ropes and leave my room. When I left, I noticed that Alpha was talking comfortably with my family. Apparently, they had gotten along well. Well done, Alpha. Now the forced marriage mission will be easier and will end sooner. As soon as I got out, Alpha looked at me happily. I didn't know the reason, but at least I wasn't stressed anymore and I wouldn't have to worry about her getting out of control. Oh, we didn't realize what time it was. Your family must be worried. Will they come for you? For me? I don't usually go with someone. Why not? I like walking and exercising much more than going by public transport. Oh, you also like to exercise, Cid. You really found someone great. Alpha would blush at these words that he acted well. I will not stay behind, and I will do the mob voice like in every situation. Mother. Cid's mom would only laugh a little. Do you want me to take you home? I'm not okay, you don't have to bother. Don't be so modest, hee. I'd rather go with Cid on foot. Cid's parents would smile at this. Well, if you say so, Cid will accompany her. W will. I would walk with Alpha towards the exit, but not before she had formally said goodbye. I would be walking next to Alpha in a direction without direction. Apparently it was obvious that Alpha's mission had ended here. She would have to return with the others. However, something happened. Alpha would have moved away from me and had climbed a building in an instant. What are you doing? At that point, Alpha would point to a specific place. Apparently, she wanted me to go to that place, and in an instant I would arrive at the place where she would mark me. We learned everything thanks to you. It seems that this thing about being a couple is real. I hope to continue under your tutelage, Shadow-sensei. Now that Shadow Garden has expanded, you and I have spent less time together, for better or worse. I can sit next to you in the next class. Next class? Wait, did she really enroll in the same school as me? No. Huh. No, because we'll stand out too much. Well, at least let me talk to you a little in the hallway, okay? I wonder what our first meeting would be like. If we were strangers, it would be like a love proposal, like in a fairy tale. Alpha would laugh a little with Shadow's confused look, who couldn't understand anything. Time flows very quickly when I'm with you. It's like a fleeting moment, or a breath of fresh air. I should be used to dark places, but for some reason, I still don't understand why. It was one of those nights when you saved me, Shadow-sama. Back then I was falling into despair, but thanks to you I am what I am now. Could you hold my arm? Shadow would hold Alpha's arm, and as soon as he did she would whisper in his ear. Thank you very much for everything, Shadow-sama. She had vanished instantly. Chapter 26. What's going on, Delta? Zeta isn't the only one with a developed sense of smell. But Delta, do you know where to get cocoa? Yes. Just give me a cocoa and I'll know how to identify the aroma of more Delta cocoa. I'll go looking for them. It's just cocoa, right? I'm not bringing poop like a Zeta. No, I just need the cocoa. Well, Delta hates poop, so I'll just bring cocoa. Well, I'll trust you, Gamma. As soon as I got home, all I did was go to bed without even looking around. I just came through the window into the dark room. The plot was going as I was planning. Even though I disliked the idea of a forced marriage, I had no choice, I had to do it. As I went to bed, I heard a slight strange sound. What is this? When I got up, I noticed that I was on top of Alpha's breasts, and when I saw this, I quickly got off. Alpha? Hello, Shadow-sama. I thought you'd already left. What are you doing in my room? Just wanted to tell you that the house is ready and I wanted you to come see it. You already have the house ready? It hasn't even been a day since I posted the announcement, and you already have the house done? I know you're playing along, but I think this is a bit much. Well, I can't complain, you're just doing your job. Alright. With the Zeta faction. It seems that Miss Alpha is already heading towards the house as Zeta-sama predicted. I knew it, she'll try to stay with Shadow. She knows it's a fake marriage and she's planning everything. What's the plan? Do I stay and follow them? No, if you do it they'll find out. From today I'll take charge and I'm coming. As you say, Zeta-sama. In Shadow Garden. The product was a success. Dark burgers are revolutionizing. That was a bit sneaky on your part, The teacher told me that there is something called coloring, and he gave me a remedy for its flavor. Flavoring? Yeah. What's going on? Do you think Delta is okay? I've never sent her on a solo mission, and on lower-level missions I discovered that Alpha-sama didn't send her because of her high level of violence. However, Eta would have fallen asleep with Ganma's sweaty gaze, who would comically shout at him. Don't fall asleep! I was walking with Alpha. We were both on a long path, hidden deep in the woods. Where are you taking me? We're almost there, my lord. We would have arrived and we would see a big house. It was quite well made. It really looked almost like a very expensive mansion, or at least that's what I thought. I'll give you points again, Alpha. You never disappoint in the visual section. Upon entering, you would see several luxurious things inside. It looked a lot like the luxurious houses I saw on the internet in my other life. The difference is that this one looked more medieval. What do you think? Pretty good. Is this where we'll be living temporarily? Yeah. Although I could know, how long has this house existed? It doesn't look like it's recent. Alpha would lower his head a little on that one. We made it for Ada's experiments, but she refused. She liked her lab better, so in the end we made it a house for any of the shadows. It has several rooms. A lot of Gamma and Epsilon usually sleep here. I see. I would then hear a tiny sound nearby, and I thought it was something or someone, whoever it was too good at camouflaging themselves. Did you notice? Yeah. At that, Alpha would make a slight attack in the opposite direction, but there would be no one. However, two shadows would land on the ground. Grrr, you dirty cat, what were you planning? Get off me! Zeta would kick Delta away from her. Zeta, Delta! Alpha-sama, Zeta was spying on them. It isn't true. Liar! You will be. Silence! At that, the two calmed down, listening to Alpha. Explain what happened. Delta was looking for Coco for Gamma. When she was looking for Coco, she saw a shadow, and when I followed it, I realized that it was watching them. Delta thought it was some enemy and chased it. When Delta arrived and caught it, it was Zeta. CHT. Zeta? I was just keeping an eye on them to see if everything was okay, that's all. Liar! Delta remains silent. Why were you spying on us, Zeta? You've been missing my calls many times, you always did, but this time I found out it was for this and not a mission. Does your absence have a relationship with this? I just think it's unfair that you're alone with our teacher. Huh? What are you talking about now? Because Shadow-sama wanted it that way, and we have to respect his decision. Zeta. Yes, master? What did you want to find out from me? Alpha would look a little annoyed and just cross her arms. And nothing. They've all been acting weird with me. Lately I've seen Beta writing more than usual. Epsilon increased his slime. And now Zeta. I'm not the only one who is doing it. Epsilon and Beta are here too. Epsilon and Beta? In that, both would be upset about Zeta's denunciation, but more because they were enemies as always, nothing new. What happens now? It's that we wanted to know if Shadow-sama. Why are you looking down? I'm here. And no, it's nothing. Shadow would sigh. We wanted to share what Alpha-sama. In that, Alpha would radiate an aura that was scary. Even Shadow. It was a peculiar aura. It was jealousy and anger mixed. She was really furious. Share? We want to have children with you, boss! Delta would finally speak out among all of them. They would all look at Shadow quite nervously since they wouldn't know what his answer would be, and Alpha would only sigh and calm down. She would know that in any case there would be a flood because of the marriage, and this, however, she was going to show that she was the best for Shadow. I don't plan on having children. Ow. But if you want my Excalibur so much, we could just have Hex. They would all blush quite a bit with their lord's answer. Chapter 27. Try your Excalibur? Yes, Shadow-sama, I'll be delighted. Beta would smile as she looked at Shadow lustfully. However, Epsilon would have moved and would stand next to Beta. Try mine, Shadow-sama, I'm sure you'll do better. Beta would look at Epsilon somewhat annoyed, who would bring her breasts closer to Shadow, looking at him lustfully. Lemon skipped. Zeta would start to feel Delta's claws entering her skin and would quickly release it, thus making Delta change places quickly and receive the Excalibur head-on. It was close. If Shadow-sama gave it to me, I'd be fine. I'm not lost yet, I have more tricks. In Shadow Garden. Miss Gamma, Mitsugoshi's sales have been increasing. Oh really? Apparently the Ada product worked. Yes, now several negotiators have come asking to see it so they can open more restaurants in other areas. I'm already going there. And I ask what the girls are doing. They haven't come back and it's been 2 hours. -2 hours later. Uff. Don't. You will win. How long has it been since I started having hex? I got carried away. I was supposed to have something else planned tonight. It's time to finish this. I am bucking atomic. Both Zeta and Delta will receive hundreds of speeds without stopping. Kaya! Ayaha! Both of them would fall to the ground quite a bit. This is over. Shadow would rebuild the slime suit and start walking out the door until he heard a noise. W8 boss. We're not done yet. I gave them 300 hits in that attack plus 20 from before and they're still going? That's admirable. Looks like I'll have to get a little serious. However, Zeta and Delta would fall asleep instantly. Well, I must at least congratulate you for surviving this long. Now I confirm that you are the strongest shadows. Shadow would walk away and leave everyone in the room.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.